Hello. How's everybody doing? Are you booing? Who's booing me? I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Thanks everybody for coming. Welcome to the Stereo Sessions. If this is your first time, we do these one a month from April until September. This is our third one that we've done. We do them always the second Wednesday of every month here at the Listening Lab. We really appreciate everyone being here. We've got some really exciting ones coming up. We've got Wanda Lott, which is a gospel record we're going to have in July. And then after that, we're going to do the Quick record, which is a great funk record from here from some Memphis folks. And then we're going to end with the Snow Globe record, going to get a little modern, not too modern. And I think we're doing a cocktail party before that one as well. So real quick, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Mempho Presents is our presenting sponsor. They really help us for the whole season. And of course, support us in a lot of other ways and support a lot of Memphis music folks. And Independent Bank is also a season sponsor, and we really appreciate all they do. Shout out to Memphis Listening Lab, to Jim and Chad in the back there. Let's give them a huge round of applause for this amazing space. Well, did anybody come to the candlelight DJ set? Was anybody here for that? Jim was. I got to sit in for a little bit. It was cool. They do a lot of really other great events outside of what we do in here. You can also come in and they're open Monday through Sunday. It's Tuesday through Sunday. You can come in here and I tell people you can spend 5 minutes or 5 hours and just hang out. So please, I encourage you to come check this place out when all these chairs aren't here and you can hang out. Also, big shout out to Cobuzz. They're a big supporter of Listening Lab, and they're also supporting us on some stuff this year as well. That's QOBUZ. They're a really cool, great streaming service. They've got like a high-res streaming service, and they've got a really great magazine associated with that. And one of their marketing guys, Dan Macta, used to live here in Memphis and is a big supporter of Memphis. So big shout out to Cobuzz. And of course, Goner Records. Everyone knows Goner Records, I hope. And if not, go check them out. Let's give a round of applause for Goner Records and all they do in Memphis. And their Goner Fest is coming up in September. They've announced some of their lineup, and I'm excited about more of that. But as you know, we're a nonprofit community freeform radio station. We're supported by donations. So thanks to everyone that's a sustaining member that have donated to come tonight. If you can and you're able, go to WYXR.org and click on donate, and any amount, either on your way out or when you're home or while you're sitting here. We'd really, really appreciate it. It really helps us out to keep these events free. And so, Jared Boyd, usually our program manager, usually leads these, but every season we try to do one or two outside of Jared and let him take a break. And we reach out to our DJs. And so two DJs that are really good friends of mine, also two DJs that when we started the station over 5 years ago were two of the first folks I called. Not just extremely great dudes, but really knowledgeable record collectors. Are they in the room? I don't want to talk good about them. Oh, they're over here. Sorry, I didn't see them. But really great. So I want to bring up Zach Ives, host of Box of Records on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock, proprietor of Goner Records. And then Counselor Eric Plumley, Hot Tub Eric, he's here Thursdays at 5 p.m. So y'all give it up for Eric and Zach.
You gonna take the comfortable chair?
We won't force Rick to sit in the middle.
Well, welcome everybody. It's nice to see so many friendly faces here. I'm Eric. I do burn ends every Thursday, and Zach here, Box of Records.
Right.
We've never done one of these before, and I guess it was a couple months ago. Robbie asked us if we would be interested in doing one, and we're like, I guess so. And then we kind of kicked around a bunch of records, and very quickly, I think we determined that Want to Meet the Scruffs was the obvious and clear choice. And we didn't really have much discussion about it after we decided on it, because I think we were both pretty fired up to do it.
Absolutely. And I think it was also part of that was just that there's been a bunch of great Memphis records that have been talked about on the series. And so some things had been knocked off, but my number one record had not. And Eric was like, oh yeah, immediately that this was the one to go in and dig into and talk about.
Yeah, and Robbie said we could either do it just the two of us, or we could try to find someone that would come and join us who knew something about the band, or maybe was involved in the band. And in classic Memphis fashion, where everyone seems like they're like separated by 2 degrees of separation, I was trying to find any member of the Scruffs that might be in town, and I started by just Googling the band members' names and followed by the word Memphis. And well, I knew the Stephen Burns. I knew he was not in the country, so I didn't really look for him. But I Google Rick Branyan, and it comes up. There's a teacher at Christian Brothers High School, Richard Branyan. I'm like, okay, I wonder if this is the guy. And I go home that night, and I have a kid that just graduated Christian Brothers, and I pull out my Scruffs record, and I say, hey, man, a guy teacher at school, Mr. Branyan? He's like, oh, yeah. I said, is this him? He took one look at the record, and he's like, oh, yeah, that's him. And now that I've met Rick in person, I'm not quite entirely sure that how he was so confident that was him, but he was. But high school
Sounds like Frank.
Yeah, 18-year-old boys usually don't lack for confidence. So anyhow, typical Memphis, 2 degrees of separation. I email Rick and I said, hey, my kid's a student there. He's never had you, but there's this thing that my buddy Zach and I, part of the radio station and the listening lab, are trying to do about the Scruffs. Would you be interested in talking to me? And he said, sure. And we traded emails, and then we had a nice long telephone conversation. And then we finally met about a half hour ago for the first time in person. And I'm excited to ask Rick to come on up and join us so we can talk about this record. So,
thank you.
That's Rick. That's Rick. So,
This is his son.
Okay. First, since you talk about the picture, I have to explain those clothes. Okay. I never dressed like that. We showed up for the pictures. I was just wearing normal, whatever I wore to school that day, I guess. And Zeph, he was the rock star clothes guy. He like collected this stuff since like 8th grade. He had just all this stuff.
Typical drummer.
And so I was like, let me put some stuff on you. So he puts that leather jacket on me, and he puts all these scarves. And so I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, okay, I guess this is what people do when they make albums, And so they took all these pictures. The guy was like, stand this way, stand that way. I was just being compliant. I never put that stuff on again.
It's a totally well, whatever they were doing, they did something right, because it is a totally iconic power pop cover. For anybody that knows the minutia of like punk and power pop, that sort of realm, this is one of the best sort of private press covers, and it looks really good. The rock star thing works for you, Rick.
Well, the orange was actually the cheapest option, I was told at the time. Like, when I saw the proofs, I was like, where did that orange come from? And like, cost less than all the other colors. Okay.
All right, fair enough.
So Rick played bass in the Scruffs. He was one of several bass players, but he's the one that played on the record that we're here to talk about today and listen to today. So, Rick, I think maybe the way to start it is if you could just share with us how the band got started and maybe who the members were that played on this record.
Okay, that's Steve Burns. It was his band, basically. Zeph is next. Zeph Paulson, the drummer. Next is my brother, Dave, on guitar. And then I played bass, as you said. And we were 4 East Memphis boys, and it started with Burns and Zeph, the drummer. And I don't know how they became friends or started playing, but they had actually started to record things over at Shoe Studios, which was at the corner of Broad and Hollywood. The building, I think, is still there. I don't know what it is now, but at some point after that, my brother started playing with them and making recordings over at Shoe, and my brother wasn't really happy with whoever was playing bass with them, and he and I would play a lot at home. So we knew how each other played and all that, and we didn't particularly want to be in the same band because we were teenage brothers. Well, I was still teenage. I guess I was like 17. He was 20. We didn't really want to play in the same band because we're tired of each other. You know, we grew up together, and but he brought me in strictly for musical purposes. He just says, we have to bring in my brother because he can. I don't know that that anything was wrong with who was playing with them, but he was just used to my playing. And then Burns loved the idea of brothers being in the same band. It'll be like the Kinks, with Davis Brothers. And so he pressured me to come on in. And at that time, though, I had an ear problem. I had a hole in my eardrum, and so I couldn't play with them for like about a half a year. And then I joined. We did some stuff at Shoe and played a few gigs around here, which were disasters because, as you all know, Big Star played the same type of music, kind of, and we were very much inspired by them. We loved them, and as you know, they flopped. And so when we played, we also, faced a good amount of hostility. Polite, and most people were like politely indifferent, I would say, and some were out and out hostile because back then the club scene here was Leonard Skinner, ZZ Top. That was it. That's all anybody wanted to hear. That's all club owners would let you play before they pull the plug. And so that happened to our first few gigs. They just did not go well. And where was I? Meanwhile, we were doing things at Shoe. And during this period, some point after a while, I quit. Not because of the problems with the music, but because I didn't really like Burns very much, and I just, he just really got on my nerves, and so they soldiered on. I don't know how long I was out exactly. They had the bass player that came after me. I liked quite a bit. I thought he was very, very good, and they released during that time. They released a single on Power Play, which is a very, very small label here. Like we were the only ones at first, I think. They also put out a single by a guy named John Bird that Alex sang on. Well, he didn't exactly sing; he kind of ranted on it. It was not very good. And then Tommy Hohen did. Correct me, Ross. Blow Yourself Up. Was that what?
Blow Yourself Up.
Yeah. And so during that time, I guess it was about a year or so, I was not playing with them at all. So the bass player who came after me quit. They got in another bass player. Both of their names were Bill. I don't know the last name, so I guess it's Bill 1 and Bill 2. Bill 2 was not really very good. And so at this point, about 2 weeks before they were to start work on the album, Bill 2 quit. And so they were in a little bit of a tight spot because John Fry had set this time across saying that you can come do this, not exactly for free, But I think for a cut of any future royalties, maybe, we didn't have to pay up front. But it was scheduled and it had to happen, and they had no bass player. So I had the joy of the others coming, crawling back and saying, please come back. And so I did, and we recorded the album, and it actually went very, very well. I really enjoyed the album, and Steve and I became friends during the process. And the album was a lot of fun. I played bass. I did some keyboard overdubs and backup singing, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Well, I'm glad you touched on the disastrous or less than successful gigs that you guys were playing, just to sort of like put into context what Memphis was like in the late 70s with respect to, smaller bands trying to get something done. I'm curious to know, like, how often were you guys playing, and like where were you playing?
Well, when we first started out, I have to add that it was not all the music. It was just we were not that good at first. We hadn't been playing very long, and we probably played our first gig before we were tight enough, really. We could all play, but we just, as far as a unit, we weren't that great at first. And we were told we were too loud because we didn't know what we were doing. We came with all these amps that we practiced with, and it was like, people were doing this. And we learned to slim that down as far as the equipment. Plus, it was hard to move. And so the gigs got better. By the time the album was made, we were tight. We played, the place we played the most often was on Madison. It was called the Ritz. It was a former theater, which the last time I remember seeing a name on it, it was called like Red Square, that place. Right. And they tore it down. I saw a lot of bands play there, actually. That's the place I remember playing more than once. Was Procope around yet? I don't think Procope was there yet.
So Midtown?
Yeah,
or were
there
you
was
out
a place
in East Memphis
called, too? There was a gig in a theater in East Memphis, Ridgeway area. That was very strange.
It's funny because Henry Loeb told me to ask you about that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. He just told me, ask him about the movie theater on Ridgeway.
Okay, thank you. Were you there? That was, I don't remember who even came. Like, we, had a very small fan base who had come to these gigs, and Ross would know about that. It was like the same 20 people would come around. The Klitz would be there, and you, and occasionally you, I think Randy. I remember we played one gig way out in Fraser, and so we came out there with our cast of weirdos who would come. I think it scandalized the locals out there. So we improved as far as being like a tight, band, but still the level of interest in our kind of music was just not there. We really just faced the same issue as Big Star, because I remember going to see them. I was like in 10th grade, I think. I went with a bunch of friends to the fairgrounds to see like a bunch of bands, and they played as a three-person group at that point. Chris Bell had left. So I was with a group of about 8 high school friends. I was the only one who liked them. Everyone else was like, what are they doing? Because back then when 3 guys came out, you expected like power trio stuff, like 20 minutes, and they just played songs. And people just couldn't handle that. Yeah. It was like, where are the solos, And so that's who we looked up to. That's what we played, because that's what we liked, and most people just didn't want to hear that. It was not in style again until I guess the 80s.
Did it feel like there was other influences? I mean, it's great that there was somebody like big star here in Memphis that you could look up to and see. Were there other things that were influences for you guys as well?
We were obsessed with Britpop from the Beatles, the Kinks, the Who, the Move. Now, interestingly, when punk hit, my brother and I were fans of that, and Burns and Zeph were not.
Oh, really? So that cuts a little bit of a split.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a split. In fact, when I rejoined them, my brother had worked Fan Club by the Damned into the set. And I remember we played that like a number of times until Burns and Zeph were finally like, we're just not playing that anymore. You know? I thought it was great, but you know.
Any other covers that that would show up in the set, or when you were doing these sets? A lot of times bands were supposed to be doing covers. Did you guys have things that sort of?
Yeah, at first we had a lot of them because back then bands were supposed to play like a trillion sets, start at like 8 and go until 2 in the morning or something. And God, we did a lot of Who, Kinks, a couple of songs by The Move.
You guys
Do you
listen?
remember what else we covered?
So there was a period of time where you would do those sort of play all night. This is the band, and you guys start doing covers. Were you able to work in your own songs?
All along we did, yeah.
And then was there sort of a time that you guys sort of shifted out of that to just do your own, like a 45-minute set that was your own rather than covers, or was it less like kind of?
So I'm not sure what all happened in between because I didn't attend any. I think I went to one Scruff show during that time. But once I rejoined, we did mostly the album, a couple of songs that predated the album, and like maybe 2 or 3 covers. We did Till the End of the Day by the Kinks, Fan Club, as I mentioned, and at one point I think we did I Can't Control Myself by the whatchamacallit, Trogs. Trogs.
Were the Raspberries an influence? I hear a lot of Raspberries in that record.
Definitely. Well, that's mostly from Steve, but yeah, that was another problem we had, is that a lot of people didn't like Steve's voice. He kind of sounded a lot like, kind of an emotionally unstable Eric Carmen, I would say. And I don't mean to be mean or anything. That's just how people heard it. And the thing is, though, that really worked for those songs. Because
it's what they needed.
That's what those songs need. They're very hard on sleeve. Like, I would say, if you go and play those songs, listen to the lyrics, every song he wrote, and that's Steve. They're 100% Steve. That's his personality is like all there. There was no artifice as far as the lyrics. I mean, that's just from the heart.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
The thing is, he was always that way, whether he was singing or like.
Works good on stage.
Right.
So what do you remember, Rick, about Power Play, the record label?
Not much, other than that they put out those, John Bird, us, Hohen. Now, Hohen's first album was on London, I think, right?
Reissued on that, but I think originally it's on Power Play.
It was on Power Play.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So they just took the same thing. I don't know what Power Play did. They did another single of us after the album.
It's a small discography, but it's a great Memphis label. And Henry Loeb was the guy who ran the label. And,
Yeah.
and another just weird small world Memphis connection, Henry Loeb was the son of the mayor of Memphis from, do you remember when Loeb was the mayor of Memphis? Late 60s
60s through early 70s.
And I talked to Henry today, and we had a nice conversation, and he was really gracious to chat with me and fill me in with some stuff with the label. I asked him what his dad, the mayor, thought of it, and he's like, he would listen to him, and he would listen to the stuff we would put out, and he would just shrug his shoulders. And if people, Henry Loeb was the mayor who's pictured in the I was about to say famous, maybe more infamous photo of, I guess it's 68 when the sanitation workers are going to the mayor's office to try to broker some type of deal. And there's the photograph looking from behind the mayor's desk, and you see the shotgun under the desk with all the sanitation workers on the other side. Just a interesting connection that is the father of the guy that put out this fantastic record.
Yeah, well, that's like when I remember playing the album for our parents, and they were kind of like the same thing, like, well, okay. It's my crazy sons, you know. But interestingly, my brother did like the first ever punk show at the station that was at Rhodes back then.
Yeah.
The LYX was.
It was.
And he did like the first ever, like it was like all punk, where he'd bring in stuff and play them. And my mom would play it at home when she was washing the dishes or something, and all this stuff was coming out. She's like, "Oh, he plays the most awful music."
But she still listens.
Yeah, that's lovely.
She still
It's a lovely
listens.
story.
Every show, start to finish, and
maybe we'll
she
just
hated it.
touch on a few more things before we listen to side one. But you talked about the cover and the orange. I actually love the orange, but the artwork I think is really great. Do you remember? Did you have any input in the design of the record cover?
None whatsoever.
Well, it's clearly a riff.
Except for
on-
the orange.
Yeah.
At that point, I had just come back in the band, so I was persona non grata, kind of. I was like,
Okay.
oh, he's the guy who quit. you
Well,
know?
it's
So I didn't get to decide anything.
You can tell me if I'm misspeaking about any of this, but it's clearly very Beatles inspired. I mean, the way
yeah.
the black and white pictures are is
Absolutely.
Hard Day's Night.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Want to Meet the Scruffs sounds like a riff on
Meet the Scruffs,
Beatles.
yeah.
And then I talked to Loeb about this, and you know how Burns came up with the band name, the Scruffs, right?
I believe so.
And my theory was that it was him being such a Beatles fanatic. It was related to a riff on Apple Scruffs, which is, I guess, you know,
George Harrison's thing.
yeah, slang for Beatles fans or whatever. So that sounded like something that made sense to you when I mentioned it out in the hall.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the Beatles stuff really comes through, not just in the music, but in the LP cover itself. How long did it take you to record this thing?
We just a couple weeks, maybe even a week as far as the actual playing of the song. It was fast.
And was John Fry engineering?
Yes, John Fry engineered it, and he mixed it with input from us, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
you want to listen to the first side?
Sure.
What do we do now, Robbie?
I haven't heard it in years, so I'll be glad to hear it.
This is going to be fun.
So when you we're going to all listen to side A, side one right now. But when you walked in, if you have a piece of paper that says A, you're going to listen to side A in this room and here in the sound room. We're still going to play it out here, and then we'll come back and talk, but do another talk break between the two. I do ask if you're in here, in there. We're listening to the record, so we're going to crank it up and enjoy it. If you want to chit chat, there's plenty of room out in the hall. We encourage you to go out there. So let's give them around for the first side, for the first talk break.
Speakers are cabin, right? But they are structural wood box. They are wood box. Yeah. Well, it's elegant, right? I think there's enough. I had to think about it.
Maybe there's not.
I don't know. This is no, we can ask Will McGowan. He probably drew some lines. We need to know. We need some seats. Come on back, y'all get your seats back. Are you up here? That was rocking.
haven't come through in
Remind me your son's name. Cash.
How'd it sound?
What's that?
How'd it sound?
Good.
Holding up?
Yep.
Sounded great out here.
I played through the whole thing maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I have a copy at home, so.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't pulled it out in a long time. I just spot hit it a little bit, but like, I didn't go all the way through until we started talking about this again.
I've got a, my problem.
All right.
With everything of it. Well, I can.
Yeah.
I think it holds up.
Oh my God. Side A. Want to meet the Scruffs? Let's hear it, people.
Rick, what'd you think hearing it for the first time in a while?
Well, I can always just hear the flaws more than anything else. So, I'd only been playing with them again for a couple of weeks when we recorded that. So, I hear, I should have done this different, should have done that different. But, one thing that stuck out is that at the time here, people around here, this is, I think, is very strange, classified us as punk, which is completely, that's such a pop album, but because they weren't long songs with a lot of jamming, we got, classified as punk. And it got worse sort of when the Sex Pistols came here amidst a media, frenzy, and we were scheduled to warm up for them. And that got on the news one night, and guess who's opening up? The Scruffs, who many people think is Memphis' answer to punk. And guess who the Scruffs' manager is? Son of former Mayor Henry Loeb. And it was on the Channel 5 News one night. We didn't end up playing, but
Not wind up playing. Well, did you go to that show?
I was at the show. I
and-
was right. I was 2 feet from Steve Jones.
All right. What was that like?
It was great. I mean, they sounded good. They had the bass turned so, Sid couldn't play. So they had that very low,
Right.
but
Right.
Steve Jones and Paul Cook kept it all together. They were very tight.
Steve had 2 amps, one set
Yeah, right. One on the other. Yeah, I remember that.
Covered up.
Ross Johnson, everybody.
Yeah, Ross Johnson.
Scruffs managed, short-lived Scruffs manager.
That's right.
And wealth of
Yeah,
information.
but I think you called up Kim Fowley, right? Didn't you call up Kim Fowley one time, I think?
Wait, Ross, did you call up Kim Fowley about the Scruffs?
No, I would have been terrified to call.
No, I swear you called Kim Fowley, and he expressed some interest. Yeah.
Yeah, Kim smelled anything that was like fresh blood. He would.
Unless I just dreamed that one night.
I love it.
It's a good dream.
I love it. Well, I would say let's talk. I don't want to get too far off of this, but I do want to say that I think the thing that's so great about this record is that it kind of does do what you were talking about. I think people recognize this as punk because there wasn't really any options for that in Memphis. I don't know what else there was
There wasn't
at the time.
There was nothing.
So,
the Clits were a few years away.
Yeah,
they were the first proper punk band here.
Clits and Tav were all a little bit later. The Crime stayed poppy too and didn't really kind of delve into the punk. I mean, there just wasn't a whole lot. And then there's hardcore stuff later, but I don't know. For me, there's that. And the thing that's interesting about this record and listening to a lot of different power pop records and punk records of the time, it is sort of what I delved into for decades. And it is great that it sort of holds both sides. It is dynamic and moving enough that it sort of works in sort of in a punk thing, but there is way more pop in there, so that it doesn't get bogged down in that. And you guys are doing well enough to be able to pull those songs off, and I think that's part of what's great about it. Like most of the time, there are a handful of power pop records that came out on independent labels with small bands at the time, but most of them, it's generally a singles genre. And it's a 45 genre. And so the LPs that did come out, most of the time, there's a couple of great songs, but then it falls off at some point. And
Well, now the shoes were good.
You're right. The
They
shoes-
always wrote about us and the shoes. Whenever we appeared anywhere, it's like the shoes and the scruffs and the shoes.
well, the shoes
I
were.
feel like I should have
You're
met
right.
them, but
Shoes.
I never did.
That's a good connection, and also another interesting band. But I think the thing it just is its own thing, and especially in terms of like a full band and a Memphis band that is doing something. I think part of that is that your brother's doing two of the songs on that side that we just listened to were his songs, and there is a little bit of a change between Steven and Dave's songs. But they're close enough that you could sort of get by with thinking it's all one person. They just changed. They vary it up enough that I think it's really great. And this Thursday, the last song on there is a song that I've for like 20 years has been just like an anthem that you bounce around the room to, and it like gets you excited about anything. Like
Always enjoyed playing
my
that
God.
one.
Yeah,
What a
and Break the
killer
Ice.
song.
Break the Ice is like a call to arms mission statement for the whole record, and then the whole first side's fantastic. There's not a bad track on it, and then like you said, the Thursday's incredible. It's a great first side to a great record. I am curious to go back quickly. Why did you guys not end up playing the Sex Pistols show? Was that your call or somebody else's?
Whoever was managing it was the promoter either was managing a band called Quo Junior, who were like an all black pub rock type of band. Rolling, yeah, and they played.
Okay.
And I'm
There's
kind of
just too much political sort of
in
stuff there.
retrospect, I'm kind of glad we didn't because like half of they oversold the Towson Ballroom, and so there were a crowd of angry people outside, and of the people inside, half of them were there to jeer and throw stuff at the Sex Pistols,
Sure.
and so they were like throwing ice and cans and stuff, and I don't like things thrown at me, so
They probably wouldn't have liked you guys either.
You've been warned.
it happened a few times, but I didn't like
Was there any? Do you remember any shows where you played with a band that of some stature, whether here or in New York? We haven't really got into the New York years. Maybe we should touch on that. But is there any bands that you remember playing with that people would have heard of?
That was mostly after I left New York. They played some gigs with Johnny Thunders, I believe, and the Heartbreakers. I remember one very, very strange gig we had here at the Ritz where we were on the bill with, who was the keyboard player for Derek and the Dominoes? Bobby Whitlock. And that was just very odd. He didn't like us very much.
I believe it. Right, so maybe we should talk about the evolution of the band. So you guys recorded this record, and then after this record was recorded and came out, there was sort of a move
To New York.
New York.
We were here for a little bit. We had gone up there and played at Max's Kansas City once. Or twice. We took little trips up there and played there. And then at some point, the record got really good reviews up there. I remember Robert Christgau gave us an A-, and that came out in Cream and got into the Village Voice and all that. And so we thought, well, we're in the wrong place. We better go up there. But so we went up there and played, and it went okay, but the odd thing is we were too punk for Memphis, but we were not punk enough for New York. So a lot of people up there were also like, oh, pop, what do we play pop for? Alex had told me this before we went there. He goes, you guys are going to flop up there. They're going to say, this is,
So positive.
because he had been up there, and they did the same thing to him. Like, why are you playing this twee pop? And
Yeah, I
he
like
was
the idea
right.
that you guys were
I mean,
crossing paths.
he wasn't trying to be a jerk. He was just, saying things as that he thought. Some people liked something, we did okay, but by the time we got up there, the first wave of punk had kind of died down. The Ramones and Blondie and Television were more national accent, and they didn't play around there very much. Although we did rehearse at the same place the Ramones did. It was one of those places where like 10 bands could rent rooms. And I'd hear them practice, and I'd see them staying around, like always dressed the way they did on the albums. I was afraid to talk to them, but they weren't playing around much anymore. The only first wave punk band that was still around were the Dead Boys, because they just weren't all that great. And very, very nice people, though. I really liked them as people. And so what was in fashion then was kind of no wave, noisy, the contortions, So we're doing melodic pop, and that was just not, So anyway, yeah, I was up there about a year, and then I had to finish college, so I just quit and came back. And my brother hung on another year, and during that year, I think they toured a little more in the Northeast with the Heartbreakers, and I don't know who else they played with. And then the other two soldiered on up there another year or two after that before they called it quits. There was interest from Warner very early on after the album came out. That almost was a thing.
And how did that go? Who was dealing with the A&R person at Warner?
Henry mostly.
Henry was?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Talk about working with John Fry. How that affect you?
Oh, well, I was a little in awe because, I had just rejoined the group, and here we were at Ardent with John Fry. He was a meticulous, person. I mean, we worked for hours just on the drum sound, and he was very nice. I liked him. Very meticulous. I think my brother felt like he had toned his guitar, cleaned his guitar up a little too much. If you listen to the Shoe single they did without me, there was more distortion in the there. But I think it sounds great.
Anyone else?
What about Chris Bell? Did you run in some similar circles or cross paths with Chris at all?
Yeah, I met Chris at Ardent a few times. He came in there. I saw him play live a number of times, a few times with Van. He had a band with Van Duren. I saw them play.
That was that's post Big Star.
Post Big Star, yeah, post Big Star. I was what? Procope, and I think I saw them someplace out on Lamar. That I have no idea what it was called. It was, I don't know why they were playing out there, but they did, and I went. And I think at High Cotton, the one I know for sure is Procope and someplace way out. Maybe you were there too. Okay. Chris was interesting. He. A lot of people feel that he wasn't affected very well by the lack of success of Big Star, but I kind of think that had they had more success, that would have been a problem for Chris because everyone focused on Alex. I always assumed it was Alex's band up until I knew otherwise, and he was the one that with the big name, but I mentioned that because Alex was such a charismatic performer and Chris was not, and I think had Big Star gained more success, the spotlight would have been more and more on Alex, which would have been a problem for Chris. this is all what if, you know. But you know, Chilton had that experience with you know, number one thing. You know,
Right.
he toured. You know, he walked out and owned a stage. You know, that was not the case with Chris. Other than that, I mean, I met him a few times, but he was, you know, very quiet, and I'm quiet, so you know, we didn't talk a whole lot.
Yeah. And what about Alex?
Alex, well, I played with Alex quite a bit after I left the Scruffs. I was in the Randy band with Randy back there, Mr. Randy Shurto, the
Randy
legend.
Shurto.
And we would, which was so much fun. That was just a lot more fun than the Scruffs. We actually liked each other. And we, of course, would run out of songs pretty quickly, and then Alex would come sing with us quite a bit, and I played with him a lot, and that was always a lot of fun.
When Alex would get up with with you guys, was it just covers?
Yeah. Well, I remember playing one Big Star song with him that I remember. I played a lot of stuff with him, but Kangaroo was the only thing I remember ever playing with him. Well, wait. Some of his stuff from Like Flies on Sherbert we played.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, he would drive it. It was like whatever song was in his head that day. Like one damn, it was Groovy Kind of Love, you know, and we played that. And
Sounds about right.
That sounds
just like random
Italian
pop,
fest.
you know, just random pop songs.
So if you guys are all up in New York and you leave first,
Mhm.
and then your brother, and then is it just the band doesn't just suddenly end? It sounds like it just slowly comes
Fizzled
to
out, yeah.
fizzled out. Okay. At what year do you know? Like what year would you say like the Scruffs were basically done?
Okay, let me see. What did I leave? So I was back here 79, 81 or 82.
And there was some other stuff that was going on there too, like post. Obviously, Steven still had songs and kind of continued to do the Scruffs for, you know, years later. But like your brother also had songs and was writing songs with the Scruffs, and some of those songs, I know at least one wound up on those Hype to Death comps that came out, and it was really great. Was he doing other stuff after he came back, or how did that happen?
Okay, so when he came back, he had a number of good songs that he'd written after the album, and we played those live a few times. Do you remember that, Ross? Those St. Louis guys would come down and play with us. You played with us some, too. Scariano, yeah, and a drummer would come down, and we would play a lot of his songs. This was when I was the Go-Go Boy. Well, we would change our names. The Flying Nuns we were one night. The Go-Go Boys. What else? We had a bunch of names. So I think a lot of times when the Randy band would play, they would come too, and it would be like a 2-act thing, and I had to play in both bands. But it was actually good stuff. I remember people would say, you know, why aren't y'all doing anything? Why aren't y'all making a record? I mean, at that point, I think my brother wanted to do more of that, and we recorded some. I know you were there at Ardent for it. But
all of that
at
stuff-
that point, I was just trying to get out of college, you know.
And is that the stuff that did ultimately come out on that comp? The stuff that got recorded was the stuff that wound up on that comp?
I
that
think so. I
of
haven't
post-
heard it.
post Scruff stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. Can you give us where are they now of the Scruffs on this record?
Well, my brother is in New York. He sells real estate. I have not. I'm not sure how that's going right now. I mean, when we talk, it's always about music. We don't really talk about anything else.
Sometimes it's best that way.
Right. You know, the politics have gotten fraught nowadays, so we just kind of don't really talk about that much. Steve is in the Philippines.
Yes. And Henry
I
Loeb
think we
was
talked about
Henry Loeb
just-
asked me to
I don't want to go.
just
on.
remind everybody that Steve is safe and sound, alive and well with his golden retriever in the Philippines, and everything's good with Steve.
He's still on another planet, in other words. Zeph is in Florida someplace. The last I know of Zeph, he was playing Christian rock.
There you
I'm
have
not
it.
making
In the
this-
same
no,
in the
this is
same
actual-
outfit.
Yes.
No. There's a YouTube posted of him playing Christian rock. He's not playing drums though. He's playing the guitar and singing. It was posted like 15 years ago. I don't know if he still does it. But
And are there any other? I mean, I feel like I have to ask. Are there any other Burns stories that you should share with us before we close this all up?
Burns stories.
Due diligence here.
He was so emotionally fraught. He was just very nervous and high strung. Probably, I don't know why this sticks in my head. It was the night of the Sex Pistols show. We had been there all afternoon. We brought our equipment down even, and we're like, "Nah, you're not playing," and we left. And I had hung out there, well, I don't know. So I went home, came back, and for some reason I was driving my brother's car, which was a Bug, a VW Bug, and it had snowed and iced that day. And so we were driving back to the Taliesin Ballroom. It was very slick. And I'm driving this car that I'm not used to. And, with my date was and Burns and his girlfriend were in the back seat. And I was sliding all over the place. And he was just literally freaking out and screaming. Just like, wait! I just remember that, we were driving to New York with Loeb. He had the station wagon. And he would just freak out in cars. If you were driving too fast or if you did anything like unusual, he would just lose his mind.
Nervous in cars, Stephen Burns. All
So
right.
so that comes along in the album. I think there's a lot of there's a nervousness to his vocal that's
There is, but it works.
was real.
It works for him, especially
Without
with
a
all the
doubt.
teen angst stuff in there. It all works great together.
Yeah.
I mean, I could think of all kinds of stories, but I think that's the safest one.
Fair enough. I had to ask.
Well, a couple things. You have questions too?
I'm his wife. You could ask his son's initials.
The CBGB like that rock club in New York.
Cash.
The Browning Gentry Branyan.
All right. Cash. When you listen to the record back, the first side of the record back there, right? What'd you think? When was the last time you heard it?
Amazing.
Yeah. Hey. But before tonight, when was the last time you heard it?
He's probably never heard it.
Locked in the vault at our house.
No.
It
it's
doesn't
right-
get played
it's
often?
right there with all the other records.
No lock.
You all right? Well, good. I'm glad you got to hear it tonight.
And I love it. Got the thumbs up.
Yes. So Rick, I just want to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks so much, man.
I really enjoyed talking to you, and thanks to Henry Loeb, and thanks to Ross Johnson, and is Adam Hill still here?
Thanks, Adam.
We talked to several people in addition to Rick, just to sort of learn more and more about this, so that we could have a thoughtful chat. And thanks to the Listening Lab and the radio station for asking us to do it. I had a blast, and I can't wait to hear the second side of the record.
Yeah, we got the second side coming up. Thank you guys for coming out and supporting it. We appreciate WYXR doing this, and your support of the station and the Listening Lab is huge. So thank you. Let's listen to side two. Robbie, you got anything you need to add?
Yeah, if you had side B, you on a card, we're going to play side B in there. We're also going to play side B out here. but we are breaking for the evening, so it'll be probably a little louder out here. So I think you can cram in there if you want to listen to it quiet. But again, another huge round of applause for Rick, Zach, and Eric. They did great. Come join us next month. Tune in at WYXR.org. Donate if you can. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
We really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
That was great. You have a good time?
Yep.